Hello, church family. My name is Debra Westbrooks, and I've attended Paseo for about 5 years. I know a lot of you may not know me because I'm usually in the back row, first service, always. I came from a very abusive home growing up. Physical, emotional, sexual abuse from an early age of about 5. I learned early on that it was best for me to be quiet, and the God that I knew spoke only Latin because my father was Catholic, so I didn't know or understand if he knew me or if I even knew him. I trusted no one, and I still have some issues with trust, and at times even with God. I tried to commit suicide at 16 because I felt that it was the only way out. Of course it wasn't. I went through abuse with my first husband, who I married at 17 mainly because I thought things would be different, and it wasn't. It was hard to understand that we tend to do what we know. We don't realize that life can be very different. I didn't know God, but I was baptized in my 20s because my husband said that this needed to be done because he wanted to join a Baptist church. And we did, but that was just going through the motions. Going to church didn't last long, and neither did our marriage. We divorced after 12 years when I was pregnant with my 3rd child. I raised my children myself, no child support, but I didn't see that if God hadn't helped me with this, with my job, I couldn't have done this alone. Everything seemed to come crashing on me, but I had no control of my life. I didn't realize then that we don't have control, only God does. I was seeing many counselors to try to fix the depression issues I had. It wasn't helping. I was struggling, and in the midst of everything that I felt I was having a nervous breakdown. I sat down in the middle of the living room with 2 young boys and a 6-week-old baby and just cried. I cried to God to help me. I asked him why things were happening the way they were. I begged and asked him to forgive me of my sins, and I called my mom. She and her husband drove 5 hours to get to me, to help me. That was really God's hand, and I still didn't see it. At that time, I didn't see it. I went through many things. I went out a lot, partied hard with girlfriends, and I was still searching. I finally found a physician who diagnosed me with bipolar disorder, anxiety, PTSD, and OCD. He helped me with medication and therapy, but I was still missing something in my life. I was searching, but I didn't know for what. I still felt very much alone. I remarried and I settled down, but I still felt alone. I felt like maybe I needed a church. I needed to learn more about God so I could figure out what I was doing wrong. I talked to a friend who told me to try to find an evangelical free church. That's what she had gone to for many years. I read up on it. I kept passing by a church on my way to Costco, and I felt an instant liking for it, and I looked it up online and found out it was an evangelical free church. I felt like I was being pulled here. I remember my first time attending, sitting in the back row, where I always sit, at the end, last row, and Kim Krog introduced herself to me. She made me feel very welcome and invited me to their growth group. I now realize that God has always been with me through the good times and the bad times. He's held my hand and guided me, and is still guiding me. When I found the church, it was a God moment for me. When Kim introduced herself, it was another. Kim is a very quiet person, so for her to do this was amazing. I feel that God has allowed me to go through some of these things that I'm going through and have gone through to teach me how to reach out and maybe help others. He never abandoned me, or I wouldn't be here. I'd be dead. I still, of course, at times have issues with trust, but God has never, ever left me. He gave his only son to die for our sins, and I feel eternally grateful and blessed that he is my God.